Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, Cenk Ugyur has responded to some of the allegations going on with Jordan. Essentially, he's given TYT's side of events. Now, this statement is not long because ultimately he's made the point that there are legal issues surrounding it, so the statement wants to be somewhat very precise in what they want to say. And it becomes somewhat legal because Jordan said he's going to sue the Young Turks for getting rid of him. Now, the Young Turks didn't put this online yet. So apparently they ran it, but pulled it down immediately after running it. So there is one guy who has it online, but for whatever reason, he sped up the speech to make the speech sound ridiculous. You can still hear the words, you can still hear what's being said. As far as I can tell, this is the only copy that I've been able to come across. So unfortunately, bear with me in this copy. I've listened to it, and basically Cenk just kind of makes this point. What he was doing was wholly unacceptable. Whether or not he raped somebody or not, that's a legal issue. We have nothing to do with that. But ultimately, you've been using company credit card or company funds to affect your side business, not to mention having sex and banging banging women on the company credit card. So they said after an investigation, we've cut him loose. I'm going to play the sped up version. Hopefully you can understand it. I was able to hear what was being said ultimately, even though, again, like I said, the guy made him ultimately sound ridiculous. So let's take a look. Let's see.
I'm going to give you guys a statement about Jordan Chariton. Of course, people have been legitimately asking about that issue, and we wanted to address it. We wanted to address it much earlier, but we couldn't because we were offering Jordan an ability to take a resignation. He has turned that down, and so I'm here to tell you now that Jordan Chariton has been fired from the Young Turks. We conducted and completed an investigation. It was an internal investigation. We could not talk to a lot of the people involved, including the accusers, because they don't work for us. And for a long time, we did not even know who some of them were. Truth Against the Machine has nothing to do with the Young Turks. That was a side project that Jordan set up. So what we did in our internal investigation was we assumed what would happen even in the best case scenario for Jordan. And so I'm not saying that was a scenario. We did not conduct an investigation as to whether any kind of sexual assault happened. That is for other authorities to deal with. And I'm not saying that the best case scenario is a correct one for Jordan. I'm not saying anything about that because we didn't investigate that. In our investigation, assuming a best case scenario, even in that scenario, here's what we found. So he ran a side business and unfortunately used our company to effectuate that business. Now, Truth Against the Machine was a thing that I thought was a little side project with a couple of volunteers. It turns out that we did not know, nor did he communicate to us, the scale of it, where they were having conferences or conventions, and there were a number of people being paid through this operation. Again, we have nothing to do with Truth Against the Machine, and the fact that any of our resources were used in that regard is deeply troubling to us.
All right, that's slightly hard to hear because it's running really fast, but he's essentially saying we knew nothing about Truth Against the Machine. That was Jordan's side project. And the idea that funds were being used for that is deeply troubling. If you're using company money for your side project, that is troubling to us. Let's keep going.
And he unfortunately brought in women that report into him at whatever that organization is, and also some TYT employees into a hotel room, and in other instances, several other intimate settings. That is clearly unacceptable. That is very poor management decisions that he made, and clear firing offenses. So without going...
All right, just so you understand that part, I'm interjecting in this just so you can understand what's being said. I don't know if everybody can hear with that sped up voice. I suspect he's fucking with Cenk. He's trying to make him look bad. Look, and right then, he'd made this point. You're banging women that you're bringing in for Truth Against the Machine while using company resources, but not necessarily telling the company that there is even a thing called Truth Against the Machine. And the fact that you're kind of having sex when you're on the job, that's fireable offenses. I have to be honest, he's right. Now, I've made this point that it wasn't rape because I don't believe it was rape. But I've also kind of made this point that this is insane. Like, you're bringing people in to work with Truth Against the Machine. Now, whether or not Cenk Ugyur knew about Truth Against the Machine or not, it's kind of besides the point. I'd make the case that if any of this or all of this was brought under the auspices of TYT, which it was, because there is a video with Carla Hammond going ape about something that's going on in Ohio. That's TYT politics. So when they were doing this stuff, she was being brought on for Truth Against the Machine, even though she was operating also on TYT. you're having sex with somebody who's supposed to be working with you. Again, if everybody is game for the orgy, fair enough. But come on, man. There's no situation where you can have an orgy on the job and be okay outside of being some kind of porn star. And as far as I know, Jordan is not a porn star. So if you're talking about fireable offenses, if you had sex on your secretary's desk, you'd probably be fired. You'd probably be fired. And let's be honest, it also looks bad for the company itself, for TYT itself, to have somebody called a rapist and you're working for TYT. And even if you take out the rapist part, it's still, these guys were having an orgy on a company's dime. An orgy on a company's dime. The information that was there by itself gave a certain amount of pretense to fire Jordan. Now, I don't say this lightly, by the way, because you've seen my last video. My heart goes out to him. I think he may have been open in the way that he behaved, and he may have been oblivious to the fact that this was causing issues with other people that was around him. But it wasn't rape. It wasn't rape. And, you know, you can make a case on whether or not they should cut him loose or not, based on what took place. Yes, he made poor decisions. He made immensely poor decisions. Does that warrant being cut loose? I suppose, yes, you can cut him loose. Do you need to cut him loose? That's a separate question. That's a separate question. Yeah, Garden don't call me a softie on this. Yeah, I'm a softie on this. I think the guy did good work. I think it's problematic that he's begging women who's coming to the organization, and those women don't necessarily know if they're working against Truth Against Machine or if they're working for TYT politics. And maybe there's some blurring of the lines between the two. But Cenk, come on, he has a point. If you're using a company dime for stuff for some other side organization, that's going to be frowned upon. Particularly when you didn't tell your parent company, TYT, that you had this side organization. So yeah, I don't think Cenk's crazy on this. Let's keep going. Let's hear the rest.
Going into what happened or did not happen in those rooms. For a manager to bring in women into his room and, according to his own admissions, not only internally but in posts that he then put publicly, have sexual relations with them is not acceptable. So if you don't agree with that and you think, hey, bosses should be allowed to sleep with people who work underneath them and keep bringing people into their rooms, okay, then we're going to disagree. So we offered to allow him to resign and take a severance, and we gave him all the way to Wednesday because we were trying to do the right thing. And he has decided not to do that. And in the meanwhile, he has attacked us over and over publicly. And so since he's not resigning, I'm telling you right now that we fired him. He has refused to talk to us. He got an attorney, and he's saying, no, I don't want to hear it. I want you to tell my attorney. And his attorney has done nothing but threats since then. So what he didn't tell you in one of those posts that he put up, the original one, was that he said that he was doing radical transparency. But he neglected to mention that the woman that he was talking about in very intimate details was someone who reported into him at Truth Against the Machine. That's a pretty important detail to leave out, and not what I would call radical transparency. He then misstated that we didn't do an internal investigation when he wouldn't even talk to us about that investigation. We reached out to him to have that conversation, and he kept referring us to his lawyer. And then, of course, he said things like we did it for corporate reasons. I don't know what that means. Here's why we did it. We did it to protect the people that work here and make sure that we have professional management in place. Now, look, Jordan.
You heard that right. Let's make sure we protect people that work here. Again, here's a point. He has a point. He has a point. Do the women who are coming there knowing, how can I say this? Do they believe that they're working with TYT, or do they believe they're working with Truth Against the Machine? And because of Jordan's connections with TYT, do they full well understand that this is nothing to do with TYT politics, even though they're using the credit card to pay for some of the stuff that takes place? If anything goes down, is TYT on the hook? Are they liable? Now, TYT makes a point. Those are not our employees. We have nothing to do with those people. But are they on the hook? Are they considered to be on the hook? I don't know. I would imagine TYT doesn't even want to take the chance. So, if their internal investigation showed that people were coming in, meaning from different parts of the country, and that there was any predatory behavior at all, meaning if he was hitting on one woman after the next, and he's being somewhat immensely informal in the way he goes about his affairs, it just looks bad. It looks bad for the organization itself. So, yeah, he's like, we need to protect the women who are working under us, etc., etc. Let's keep going.
In the past has done good work for us. He broke a number of stories that were very important. This does not erase that. And it is actually super sad that it has come to this. And I believe in second chances. And so I hope and believe that he can learn from these, what I consider to be mistakes, and I don't want people writing him off forever. Again, whatever happened in those rooms, that is for other people to determine. It is a really important issue. And I'm not saying anything about that in this regard. So, I hope he can learn from it, and I think he can go on and do good work again. But right now, obviously, we have to do what is right for the employees here and everyone else concerned. So, I'm not going to say anything more about this for now because he's threatened litigation, and of course, lawyers want me to read a statement that is on a prompter and carefully crafted and PR machine behind it and all that. No, I'm telling you as I always do. I wrote down my notes and I'm telling you what happened to the best of my ability. And part of it is I actually also want to protect Jordan's privacy. No matter how public he's been and no matter what he's done, there are things that we don't need to talk about any further because this situation is resolved. And I wish it didn't go down this way, but it did. So I hope, like I said, I'm going to reiterate it, that he learns from this and can move past it and go on to do good work and good reporting again. But for now, this is the situation at hand, and we clearly had to make this decision for the purpose of everyone who works here. So I hope you guys understand that, and that's all.
We have to make that decision for everybody that works here. Yeah, he's talking about PR. It looks bad. It looks bad. One of your reporters is being accused of rape. Even if you take rape off the table, one of those reporters were bringing in employees and having sex with those employees while working on the company dime. So yes, it looks bad. Jordan has fired off a few tweets of himself. So let's see. Let's show those. It's only fair. Cenk Ugyur just slandered me for misusing company resources. How about you release the statement? You'll find luxury hotels like Howard Johnson and luxury meals like Chili's and McDonald's. When you release the statement, show a side-by-side of my spending next to the other 4 reporters the audience hired with $2 million fundraising campaign. Dude, you're missing the point. How about Cenk Ugyur release the emails from TYT where you complain about my TYT big spender lifestyle? Both your Young Turks audience and I can't wait for your radical transparency. I like Jordan, which is why I've taken the position in multiple things that I feel bad for the guy. I think he just made some bad choices. That being said, dude, you're missing the point. Nobody's trying to say you're having this baller lifestyle. They're just making this point that if you're going to Ohio because you're covering Standing Rock and you're using the company dime, company resources, even if you're staying at a Howard Johnson, even if you're staying at an Econo Lodge, it's kind of besides the point. You're having orgies in the room while you're on an assignment. I don't understand. I don't understand the issue with this. Like, I don't understand the threatening litigation. That's all I'm saying. Certainly, he has a point. Even by your own story, even by your own metrics of what took place, your explanation of events says that you had an orgy on the company dime. You were out at a particular location. It was the last night of being at location. That you yourself pay for the go to that location out of pocket. When you bought the food and everything else, was that out of pocket or was that on a company dime? Was that on a TYT's credit card? I mean, come on, be fair. And at the end of the day, you guys are out there reporting at Standing Rock, and you guys are reporting in one location after the next, or whatever the location is. But at some point, at one of those locations, you guys decided to have an orgy. I am pro-orgy. So, I take no issue with that at all. I don't necessarily care. I look at it as good for you. Good for you. It's stressful being out there with them, all that inequality. Sometimes getting an orgy gets the stress off. God bless. God bless you. But you can understand that the point in which it's raised to this thing of it's splashed on Huffington Post, you have a bunch of people talking about the fact that you might have raped somebody. And no, it's not rape, but the fact that the thing goes out there in the first place looks bad. And then your sexual details and sexual proclivities are all out in the open for everybody to see. And it makes it look as if you're preying on women using your organization that the parent company knew nothing about. I'm just saying it looks bad. Jordan put up, let's see. And by the way, again, my goal is not to take sides in this. At least I'm not trying to. It may feel like I'm on a particular side. I feel immensely bad for what's taking place in regards to Jordan losing his job. I think Jordan was doing fucking awesome work when he was out in the field. I don't care if he's having an orgy with these other people. Like I said, I don't particularly care. It's your own business. But come on, man. Some of these were bad choices. Like inviting somebody over for Truth Against the Machine, having sex with somebody while that person's sitting in the room. I personally wouldn't necessarily care about it, but you don't necessarily know the quantities that you're bringing in with you when you're having these young people come in to be journalists. They're not there because they think you're fucking awesome. They're not there because they just want to hang out with you. They're there because of a job. Now, you're exposing certain people to certain behaviors. If those people were cool, fair enough. When those people are not cool with that behavior, you have a problem. You have a problem. Batman is great, but if Batman kills somebody, Batman is going to prison. And in your particular case, maybe one orgy too many. Maybe one orgy too many. And yeah, man, by his own series of events, he's kind of hung himself. He's kind of hung himself. So, yeah, by his own series of events, he hung himself. At least that's my thought. Clearly, I don't think it's rape. Clearly, I don't think he abused anybody. I do think it's a little sketchy in regards to maybe his behavior at work. Fair enough. I think Cenk has a point. But I said this in my other video before you even saw Cenk's response. Let's see. All right. So this is someone else who's given testimony on behalf of Jordan.
My name is Jen Guys, and this video is going to be extremely difficult for me to make, mostly because I'm so outraged by what's happening right now to Jordan Chariton. Jordan and I are friends. I work for him for Truth Against the Machine and for things like his book. And what's happening, I've seen kind of from start to finish, and I can't sit by and just let this happen. There's literally a group out there conspiring to take Jordan down. I've seen all of the evidence of this. I've seen all of the evidence that shows that Jordan is completely innocent. And I'm going to go through some of that here today because I want to clear the air. I want to get the facts out there. There are way too many lies. There are way too many people with ulterior motives, and I think you'll soon see why. I also, and I will be looking down at my computer to reference notes because honestly, there's a lot here, and there's a lot that won't come out for a while. But I can say that as someone who has been assaulted as a young child, and who has seen, most of the women in my life have been assaulted or catcalled or, mistreated by men to some degree or another. Obviously, there's a big, a great thing happening right now.
Can we not include catcalls into assault? It's not that I'm pro catcall, don't get me wrong. And I understand that, treating a woman as an object in the sense of, you're catcalling in this way. Yeah, it can feel demeaning to the person who's at the receiving end of that. Fair enough. Fair enough. But can we draw a line that says catcalling is not a form of assault? Can we please do that? It just seems... Look, I understand this stuff is relative, but shit, man, don't you have to draw lines somewhere? You have all of these sexual abuse allegations that are coming out of the woodwork. Fair enough. There's probably 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years or so that's stored up where people, for the most part, didn't bring that stuff up. They just looked at it and gave it a pass. All of it is coming out in the open at once. Fair enough. I just don't want this pendulum swing to get ridiculous. That's all. Let's keep going.
Right now, where men who have assaulted and abused women are getting their due, finally. Jordan is not one of those people. Jordan has never assaulted a woman. He would not assault a woman. And I think you're going to quickly see that the accusations that are going around right now are simply not true. First of all, I want to tell you that I did investigate this. I won't go into how or why, but without Jordan's knowledge, when I was told this information several months ago, well, I guess it wouldn't be several months ago because the alleged incident was in May, so this would have been in June or so. I investigated this without him knowing, because I wanted to know if it was happening. And if it was happening, I wanted to be there to put a stop to it. And as someone who works very closely with Jordan, I was in a perfect position to shut down anything that might be happening. I was in a perfect position to take him down if he was assaulting or abusing women. The fact of the matter is, he's not, he hasn't, he's innocent. I've literally read Jordan and the accuser's message history, including from before and after the alleged assault. I fully understand that women who've been assaulted sometimes, or maybe even often, I don't know, still have chats with their abusers. But I think, you know, once you see the evidence, you'll see that that's not what's happening in this case. In this case, there was no abuse, there was no assault. And it's very, very clear. In fact, I'm looking down again at my notes. The accuser messaged Jordan the night after the alleged assault.
Here's the thing. I grant her that. I believe that. I don't think Jordan raped anybody. I think that woman made a poor choice. And then retroactively said to herself, I made an immensely poor choice. And I felt at the time that I was being an adult and I made a choice that I wanted to hook up with Jordan. But now I realize it was a wrong choice. And now I feel that I've been abused in a retroactive way. Yeah, that's not fair at all. That's not fair at all. And she's right. There's evidence. I don't want to go a bit along the path of saying overwhelming, but there's persistent or decent evidence showing that, yeah, it wasn't a rape. It wasn't a rape. So, bake that into the cake. But Jordan wasn't fired because of rape. Like the arguments that keep being made, even among that Jordan makes himself, doesn't really get at this thing of, were you using the company credit card at the exact same time you were having sex in your hotel room? Like when you were having an orgy, were you paying this out of pocket? Or was TYT paying for it? Until I hear something that says otherwise, it sounds like that is somewhat this kind of implicit agreement that, yes, those are the facts on the ground. I don't believe it was rape. So any defense that says it was not rape, you can be as strong as you want saying it was not rape. I had already agreed with you before you open your mouth. Let's keep going. Let's see if she says something different.
Assault and said, thank you so much for sacrificing sleep to talk to me last night. I really appreciate it. Because after the alleged assault, in which you've read hopefully Jordan's account of what happened, you've hopefully listened to Chelsea's account, an eyewitness in the room. And that's one of the reasons why this is a cut and clear case of Jordan's innocence, because it's not very often that there are witnesses for a case of for sexual accusations. There are multiple witnesses in this case. 3 of the people in the room, their stories line up. Only 1 doesn't, and there are reasons for that. There are ulterior motives here. There was no assault. Basically, once it was clear that the accuser was upset about other things, Jordan stayed up and talked to her all night. Not only that, I'm not going to go through the play-by-play. That's not what I'm talking about here. But it's very clear. This was directly after the alleged assault. Not only did TYT, these people are not just, it's not as they're trying to paint it, a support group for people who've been assaulted. This is a group of people with ulterior motives who are doing everything in their power to bring Jordan down. And I am so outraged. I can't believe that people could be like this, especially in this environment where finally women are able to come forward And men are being taken down who are doing these things. And they are using that environment. They are abusing that environment. They are harming the stories of women who have actually been assaulted. And it disgusts me. So, and in fact, you know, as I said, they made the mistake of adding my friend, who was never assaulted or abused by Jordan. In fact, she had never met Jordan before last week with me when I was there. So, this...
To give context, the friend that she's talking about is the Huffington Post piece that ran made this point of, here's one story, and there's another accuser that will come forward, but she has pictures or naked pictures or something like that. That woman said that they just outright lied. That says she's never even met Jordan up until like 2 or 3 days before the story came out. Look, I agree with her basic argument. I agree with her basic argument, but that's not the argument that Cenk made. What she's saying has nothing to do with the argument that Cenk made. Cenk took rape off the table. He took it off the table. He was like, whatever took place in that room is between them. All I know is, well, look, I'm pretty sure they said this looks immensely bad on the company. Do we have any liability whatsoever for women who might feel sexually abused or sexually harassed in that environment? And yeah, we don't want you using a company credit card to have orgies. So I'm going to put this video at the bottom. And I'll put Jordan's page at the bottom also so you can see it for yourself. Yeah, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. I mean, I don't think he has grounds to sue anybody, to be honest. Whether you're in Howard Johnson's or not. If you're having an orgy in Howard Johnson, you're still using a company credit card to do it. Again, I am pro-orgy, so that's not my issue. If there was 3 or 4 of them that consistently worked together, had orgies together, they understood each other, no issue. Nobody's bitching, nobody's complaining, nobody's putting out a thing in the Huffington Post. Everybody is happy, everybody's ticking along, everybody is loosey-goosey. But certainly that's not the situation to which you found yourself. And yeah, unfortunately, man, it's look, I feel bad for the guy, that's all. I do feel bad for the guy, so I will leave it at that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. There's nothing else to say about it. I made 3 or 4 videos on this. At this point, I think I've pretty much covered every angle on it. And I think I've read everything that's come out up to this point. I read Jordan's account. I read her account, or I listened to her account. I've listened to people who are around the scenes in this particular case. Yeah, no, wasn't rape. Yes, his was massively inappropriate in regards to some of the things that he was doing. But no, by no means was this rape. Huffington Post, they only had 1 account of this. They didn't have 2 accounts. The woman's story, Carla Hammond, her story seems pretty dicey when she was on Tim Black. She just seems slightly unbelievable. So, not to mention, she never actually said no. And the moment that she did say no, George stopped. That means that at any point along the way, you could have said no and stopped, and he would have stopped. It's a shitty situation all around. That's all. That's why I feel some kind of way about it. Also, we're going to lose a reporter. We're going to lose a reporter. Whatever you may think of TYT, TYT Politics was actually pretty decent. So, I will leave it at that. Shittiness all around. Shittiness all around. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks guys.